Are you old enough to remember when clipless pedals first came in? I remember a lot of us went, "Oh, I'm not riding with them, they're dangerous." Or how about when the gears in the brake levers came in, Shimano STI system? I remember that too. Then over from the mountain bike side of things to road bike, the A headset. No more locking up two nuts on a threaded fork anymore. Then carbon fibre came in the 90s in their frames, then it went into wheels, and now what can't be made out of carbon fibre? How about something that's been around for so long, I'm pretty safe in saying none of us will be able to remember when it wasn't exactly as it is today. I'm referring to the bicycle seat, in particular the shape or its design. It's been like that for over a generation, and the reason so is because it fits all the criteria of our needs as a bicycle rider. Over all this time there's been some slight variations on the shape of the seat, some more radical than others, but we've always gone back to this same shape. Mountain bike, road bike, whatever sort of bike, it's always pretty much that shape. The last 10 or 15 years we've had the perennial relief channel, where it's split down the middle of the seat to help in the perennial region of where we sit. So that sort of makes the seat look like it's in two parts, but it's not really, it's still one seat. And the shape is pretty much the same as well. Well, how about something completely different? It doesn't even look like a bicycle seat. It's called the All Wings Falcon bicycle seat. So, it's instructions, and that's it. It doesn't look anything like a bicycle seat, does it? Especially the traditional bicycle seat. It looks more like something bird-like, maybe a remote control aeroplane. Well, what took my interest was the designer of this seat has taken out multiple patents on it, and to do that costs a lot of money, so he's pretty sure of what he's doing. So that caught my interest, and I thought, we've got to try this out. Now, putting a new saddle on, you've got to get it right in order to find the right comfortable spot. So first things first is the height. Now, from the middle of the rail on this seat, which I normally ride with, to where my ischial tuberosity sits, and pretty much with everyone, is around about 5 centimetres. And measuring here from the centre of the rail on the all-wing saddle to around where the ischial tuberosity sits is the same, 5 centimetres. So we should be able to bang that on and it'll be the same height. Although the instructions do say to lower your seat around about 1 centimetre to start with. But if it's going to be the same height, well, I'll try that. Any which way, I'm going to take an Allen key with me when I ride anyhow, so I'll be able to make some adjustments. All ready to roll. It's still winter here, so I've got some warm gear on. Now, I haven't got longs on, I've got these Nicks, but I know these Nicks, how they feel. It's an old Katusha kit, so I know exactly how these Nicks will feel, so I'll feel any discrepancies in the seat. So, now I've also got this bag with me, this old bag, and in it I've got the Allen key, but also I'm really prepared, I've got the old seat, or the original seat, just in case that proves to be really uncomfortable, so uncomfortable, I want to put the seat on. I'm not wasting a ride, so just in case. So here we go. Just a couple of kilometres down the road now, and I've pulled over because I feel like I'm a little bit too far forward, too much pressure on the hands because the seat's tilted too far forward, or feels like that. So I'm going to just set it back a bit and tilt it back. All done. Let's go again. It's about 5 k's into the ride now, and I just feel like I'm falling forward off the seat, slipping forward, and so it's like you can only push yourself back and then you feel like you're slipping forward again. So I'm just going to adjust it even more back. I've been up and down a few little undulations, and I still feel like way too much weight on the hands and wrists, your arms, on the bars. So still feel like I'm slipping forward. So I'll try again one more time, adjust it, and when I get down the bottom of this hill. That's how far back I've got it tilted now. Trying to go no hands here, and
because it hasn't got a nose, and you can't. It's just weird. It feels like you can rotate easy. So, no, I don't like it with no hands. Another thing is I can't spin very fast. I feel like I need to push a bigger gear to stay in a position on the seat, to keep on the seat. If I spin too fast, I feel like I'm going to fall forward again really easily. So I'm still trying to keep myself from falling forward. So hence I'm using a slightly bigger gear, actually significantly bigger gear. So that's no good. Another thing I found, that if I did try a smaller gear, is you usually sit a little bit more forward when you have higher cadence. There's nothing to sit forward on. You just end up coming off the seat. So it's definitely not a good all-rounder seat. You tend to need to sit in one spot, one position on the seat, and that's it pretty much. Once you find your comfortable position, if you can get one, then you really can't, there's not much variation, if you know what I mean. Whereas a traditional seat, my normal seat, I can move around a fair bit. There's a few different positions as well, forward and back and that. So not so with this one. I'm still flipping forward too as I'm riding here. There's a mechanical cow here. Got milk and all spilled on the ground. It's a spanner. Anyhow, so about 35-40 k's into the ride. Really, I just can't. I still feel like I'm slipping forward. Not as much as I did before, but I can feel here. So my ischial tuberosity is somewhere on these holes. And this part feels like somehow here is poking into me somewhere, just in front of my ischial tuberosity, right in the, I don't know what you call it, I'll have to look it up, but there's a muscle there and it's pushing on a muscle. It feels like I'm going to get a bruise. If I keep riding like that, I'm going to be bruised when I get back. So I'll persevere for another 5k. It's starting to rain a bit. Can't just, you know how you sit on a bike when you've been riding a bike for a long time, many years, or in my case decades, and you just get on a bike and it's automatic and you just twiddle your legs and you go. You don't think about your seat, very rarely. This is a really long ride, but this one, all you can do is think of your seat. I'm trying not to, I'm trying to ride normally, but I can't get into a rhythm, can't get into a nice rhythm, and you just can't enjoy the ride. I reckon this seat would be probably okay for a more upright position on smooth roads. But most, I mean, what roads are smooth? I'll ride none. No, it just feels like something bashing me in the backside with every bump. So, oh, made it to the beach anyway. So it's as good a place as any to change the seat over. There's something there. I'm surprised it's so comfortable for the shape it is. So it's got something there. You can make something of it. I'm not sure how. But anyway, probably for the ordinary commuter, maybe not for if you're looking at a really long distance and bent over, more aero position. Better swap the seat over. Back on the old seat, and much better. The other seat, the wings, it just felt like that I was riding on points, on very fine points. Hard to explain. I'll see if I can tell you a little illustration, like 2 points. There's no perennial problem. There's no problem gust of wind there. No problem at all. It was great for that. And put the old seat on, and I can feel I can feel the middle of the seat where the perineum area is, but it distributes your sitting force on a wider area, whereas the all-wing saddle felt like I was sitting on points. Does that make sense? So and much more control. No hands. It's great. And what else can I say? Oh, and I can pull up on the pedals. The one thing I found that I couldn't do, immediately, as soon as I got the old seat back on, I could pull up on the pedals and do a nice circular pedaling style. It was the all-wing saddle. I felt like I had to push, constantly trying to keep myself in my weight off the handlebars at least. Anyway, so now I feel like on the way home I don't have to think about the seat now. I can just ride and enjoy the ride. Much better. And of course I've got the bag with me, with the original seat for the mountain bike and the Allen key, of course. We're done about 15 kilometres, and of course it feels longer on a mountain bike when you go for a ride. Now the seat is actually, how would I say, it's pretty much the same as a road bike. I feel like I'm slipping forward and too much weight on my arms, again on the handlebars. So same scenario there, but I find because my mountain bike, my seat is a bit lower on the seat post than my road bike, that it's a more upright position, that the seat is a little bit more comfortable. In fact, it's considerably more comfortable. Perineum area, again, no problem, no pain whatsoever, no discomfort. But general comfort on the mountain bike here is a little bit better than the road bike. And I would say it's because the seat height is a bit lower in general on the mountain bike, as you do. So now the other thing is, I didn't experience on the road bike, or I didn't seem to take much notice, or it's not as pronounced, is it feels like, at first I thought, oh no, what have I done? I've got a loose wheel or a cracked frame or something. I'm looking down, and what it was is the whole bike is wiggling around with every pedal stroke. It's like flexing, it's waving. As I push down, it waves in one direction and waves in the other direction with the other stroke. And what it is the seat, it's a sit on a plastic seat because it's so flexible, and the rails have such a height. There's not as, I'll just stop for a sec, because the rails go around in a curve, so it's a longer rail, it's a longer connection between the seat where you're sitting and the actual connection to the seat post, that it allows quite a bit of movement, quite a bit of flexibility, including the plastic seat. These glasses can't see, but mud all over them already. So including the plastic seat makes the whole thing less stable. Like it's flexing, your backside is moving slightly compared to the bike, whereas a traditional seat you're more fixed because the rails are shorter and you're more connected to the seat post. There we go, a little bit dirty. So in that sense, again, that's a lack of control. You need control, so it might be more comfortable, it might take a bit more road. It takes up more shock as well from the bumps that I've been going over. So in that respect, it's good, it absorbs a bit of shock, but again, it's not really suitable for a mountain bike, I don't think so. You need the nose for a bit of control for a start.
Well, back from the rides, and with the mountain bike ride, I swapped over seats again, put the original one back on around about 28-30 kilometre mark. Still some mud underneath the all-wing saddle from that ride. Now, with the positives and negatives of this all-wing saddle, I'll start with the positive, and it's really only one, and it's overwhelming. It's the fact that there's no perennial discomfort with this seat, and that is because there's nothing here to give you perennial discomfort, and there's no nose on it as well. So the perennial region is actually floating in nothing. All your weight is bearing on the wings themselves of the seat. So if perennial discomfort is your number one issue with a bike seat, and you've been hunting for a long time and tried lots of different seats, this all-wing saddle just may be your answer. And now with the negatives that I found personally with this all-wing saddle, and each individual person is different, remember, but I also feel that these points are going to affect the majority of people who try this seat. I'll just swap seats. So I've got a white one they sent me as well, which was nice of them because you can see the markings a lot better on there. Now you're supposed to have your ischial tuberosity, that's your sit bones on this part of the seat here, the small black mark here at the back. So that's the front of the saddle here. So on there. Now I found in order to do that I had to have the seat slightly tilted forward, which I did try, and I was sitting pretty much bang on them. Trouble is, I was slipping way forward. There was way too much weight on my arms, wrists and hands and the handlebars, and that was no good. So within a couple of kilometres of just riding now, I thought, no, this can't be right. So I tilted the seat dead flat and still found I was slipping forward way too much. Stopped again, tilted it back, and then by that time my ischial tuberosities were on this black part here, the next black mark, the big one there. And I was still slipping forward. So worst scenario, I took it right back like that, and I was sitting on almost off of that black mark onto the white part of the saddle there. And it was a lot better, but I still felt like I was slipping forward unduly. So the other problem is at that position I had, even if that was right for me, for the weight distribution, and even if I did have the weight off my arms, this part of the saddle, of the wing, was digging into the muscle area or the ligament area of the upper part of my glutes. So that was no good, and as I said in the video, I felt like if I keep riding this anymore I'm going to end up bruised. So I couldn't get a happy tilt, and I felt like I was sliding off the seat all the time. So that's the number one issue I found, falling off the seat, way too much weight on the arms. Now the second issue I found is what's most important on roadies, for road bikes, not so much with your mountain bikes, is getting into a nice rhythm, a nice pedaling style, and that's ultra important. So now with this I found I just couldn't get a good high cadence. I was forever pushing, most probably because I was pushing trying to keep myself back up on the saddle rather than sliding down forward. But even so, even if I had that right, I still found that I couldn't get a high cadence. Trying to ignore that, I couldn't get a high cadence. So pulling up on the pedals, getting a nice, as you pull back, up, not all the way, but you just get in that nice rhythm. You know how it is, if you're really good at riding, you know how to ride, you get a nice rhythm. Can't do it with this saddle. Well, I found I couldn't get it with this saddle. Getting a proper rhythm is not possible. So now the third problem I found is that the position you're sitting on, you're stuck in that one position. With a normal seat, you can slide forward a bit more if you want to get your cadence up, like in a time trial or whatever reason. You come forward on your seat a bit more, or you can slip back on the hills when you're climbing a hill. So it gives you a bit of movement. You can slip back and forward on your seat. This one, you can't. For a start, there's no nose to slip forward on. So you're stuck pretty much on those points where you're sitting. You only got one position that you can sit. So that was a negative as well. You can't move around on this seat. Stuck in one position. Now the fourth problem I found was on the mountain bike. It came to a fore. I didn't feel it so much on the road bike, but on the mountain bike I felt like I was disconnected to the rest of the bike. So as I was riding along, I thought it felt like the seat post was wobbling around, or the frame had a crack in it and it was whipping. Not a great deal, but enough to be noticeable. And I thought, what's going on here? This is weird. As soon as I rode it on the mountain bike, within the first couple of 100 metres I could feel what's going on. So what it was is the distance between when you have your seat post connected here, where the rails are here, you've got a huge amount of rail here and a huge amount of rail here. Whereas on a traditional seat, it's only a short distance between your seat clamp and where it joins into the seat, front and the back. So this is great. It gives you a bit of suspension, but it also means that you're disconnected to the bike more. In fact, so much so that you could feel the flex. It was weird. Now, this saddle is flexy enough. It flexes this way and also flexes, twists that way as well. And there you go, you can see it. I don't know if I can twist it, but you can certainly feel it. But you can twist the saddle as well. So there's a lot of flex in this plastic, but there's also flex in the rail as well. So those two parts, those two flexions add together to give a fair bit of flexion all over to the point on your seat post, and you just feel disconnected to your bike, and I found that very disconcerting. And the last point I mentioned, which you saw in the video, which is awkward to do, is to ride with no hands. With an ordinary seat, you've got the nose as a reference point, and you can also use the inner part of your legs to keep the balance. Whereas this all-wing saddle, there's no nose, so you can't do that. So it's very handy to go with no hands, especially if you're riding on a road bike and you want to change your sleeves or your jacket or whatever. When you're in a bunch, you want to keep up the guys rather than stop on the side of the road. So sometimes there is necessity when you need to let go of your handlebars. If you can't, well you can't, but if you can, it's a bonus. You can't do it with this saddle, very awkward. Maybe with practice you can, but I found myself rotating too much, like the bike was wanting to go here or I wasn't wanting to go there. So not very capable of going no hands with this all-wing saddle. So in conclusion, the concept, the idea and the design behind this saddle is really, really good. But reality, when you're riding it, proves otherwise, except for the perennial relief. It really does work. So you've got to consider, is the general discomfort and problems with the rest of the seat going to be worth the benefit of the perennial relief that this gives? I would say if perennial relief is what you've been seeking for a long time, it's a very big priority on your list. It's the number one thing you've been trying to solve for a long time. The seat may be the answer to you for your problems. Otherwise, I would say not really, but if you really want to find out for yourself, go ahead and try one out.
Got a bit, yep.
Yeah. That's a seat. Yeah.
Carbon?
Anyone willing, you can try.
No,
Oh.
no thanks. No thanks.
Where's the rest of it?
That's it?
Where's the rest of it?
Which way does it go, front or back?
Yeah, the way you'd think it goes. Yeah,
That's the front, is it?
yep.
Well, what was it like?
Sorry?
What was it like?
There's no perennial pain at all. Like, there's nothing there, no nose, nothing there, so it's fine.
At
But
the end of the runway, it was pretty good.
You can't see them when they slide down the saddle. Sort of
no, you can't. You're stuck in one
one
position.
position all the time.
I felt like I was falling forward all the time, and I could just feel like I was riding on 2 points. It's like, no.
Maybe handlebars, I thought it was like
Yeah.
tires.
It's very.
Tire.
You want to try it, David? It's a seat. You want to try it?